Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and this video is going to be a little bit different than the other videos because this is going to be a recap of sorts of my first year on YouTube in 2019 when I started the channel. I'll be going over some PCs and experiences that I had, because when I look at the statistics of the channel, you can't help but noticing that the first 8 months were really brutal. I mean, adoption was really slow, as would be the case for any new YouTube channel. Except for a core group of people that watched every video, there wasn't really a lot of views, a lot of subscribers. But then all of a sudden, a particular video that I did a couple of days ago got picked up by the YouTube algorithm, and it was this Microsoft networking video where I featured 3 PCs from 3 different generations and hooked them up using a coaxial network. And that went really through the roof. It was unbelievable. I think the video hit like 70,000 views in 1 month time. It was incredible. And this is something you have absolutely no control over. This is just something that just happens. And due to that huge increase in traffic, I noticed that a lot of other videos got a lot more attention also, picking up the views at an immense pace, something that I wasn't used to. And I saw these videos getting thousands of views, some of them getting over 10,000, 20,000 views. And this is what happened in October. And I'm really happy that I've come to a point right now where, I can kind of be disappointed when a video doesn't get 10,000 views in the first couple of days. And I'm really happy with my subscriber view ratio. I think I must have the best subscribers of the whole of YouTube, because with a relatively low number of subscribers, I keep hitting decent views on each video now, which I think is really excellent. And I want to thank you guys, each and every one of you. I mean, it's not easy for a YouTube channel to get started. I really appreciate all of the comments, the likes, the subscribes, everything. It means a lot to me. And it really motivates me to continue doing this in 2020. I'm not going to be doing a in-depth video on YouTube analytics or earnings or stuff like that. I might do that in the future. But for now, I just wanted to do kind of a recap of my first year, the kind of videos that I showed in the first part of the year, some videos that might have gone a little bit under the radar for a lot of new subscribers today. Because as you can see, these older videos don't even get 10,000 views even after half a year or a year. And I don't think that these videos differ all that much from the stuff that I have put out in the recent weeks or months. But I guess this is how YouTube works. I mean, subscribers get to see the new videos that are being posted. They get notified of that and then they click on it. But then the whole backlog of videos kind of get forgotten, and especially if these videos have been made when the subscription count was very low, people don't tend to watch those videos all that often because they aren't really promoted by YouTube either. So hence the idea of doing this little recap, because I think there are a couple of things in here that you might find interesting. I will be putting links into the description, and I'll be putting cards up in the video where I can. And if you're interested in that type of content, please browse through the channel, take a look at the different videos that have been created. I'm pretty sure you'll find something interesting there. So let's kick things off with the first video I created for the channel, and this was the IBM Personal Computer XT, the 5162 computer. Now, when I bought this and I actually got a really good deal on it, I had no idea that this was one of the rarest old IBM models out there. And I also had no idea on how to configure it. I didn't have any floppies, for example, to use the setup utility that normally comes with this PC. So I ended up writing everything in GW Basic in order to get it to recognize the hard drive, for example. But yeah, it ended up working, so I got the PC completely up and running. I learned a lot about it. And I was also amazed that this old hardware was still functioning, and it really sparked my interest in this whole IBM PC lineup. And the ultimate goal here was to collect all of the different models. So yeah, you could say that my first introduction into IBM PCs was a good one. Now the second video I did was for another XT based system, but this was my first true XT based machine that I received from a subscriber. Now it had some issues, it had already been recapped a couple of times, but the guy who sold it to me was kind of fed up with the machine. It exploded again recently, so he passed it on to me so that I could take a look. It was actually my first time doing real repairs on a retro computer, so I had to do some measurements, replace some caps, and finally got the machine up and running again, which was really interesting. So I also learned a lot with that during that process, because XTs are kind of a different breed of machines when you compare them to 286, 386, 486 based machines. They are very limited in terms of hardware resources, and yeah, for me it was very interesting to get to know them and get them up and running again. So I thought it was also a very cool looking machine. So yeah, I was really happy with it. Then I got this 486 66 megahertz PC. I thought this was just a gorgeous desktop case. I saw this in a local listing and I remember it very clearly. It was 9 p.m. or something. I thought about turning in very early. So I was already in bed about to go to sleep and I was still browsing through my phone. And then, I saw this listing and tried to contact the guy, but he didn't immediately respond, but then still ended up picking up the computer that same night. But I really love these desktop systems. I mean, for me, this embodies the whole retro feeling completely. It did require some work because there was obviously a bit of battery leakage inside. But from an exterior point of view, I mean, this is just one of the most beautiful desktops that I've ever seen. Next up was a video on a hardware donation I received. So I'm a part of a local computer club here in my little town. And there was this guy who had lots of hardware sitting in his garage and he didn't really had any more plans with it. So he kind of donated the entire thing to me. And this was really interesting because I was really into XT class machines at the time, and the collection had lots of 8-bit expansion cards. It also had like floppy disks and hard drives, floppy drives. Now obviously not everything worked, but I mean, I'm very grateful that there are people out there that have respect for people that want to work with this retro stuff and just basically give it away. I also had my share of issues with these old PCs. For example, this IBM PC that I bought, the 5150, had some issues. The original owner, who was from Brussels, obviously didn't like the keyboard layout, but the cool thing about the system is that it came with 2 monitors, so immediately I got my first CGA monitor from IBM, but also had issues because the magic smoke appeared. There were shorts on the main board, on the floppy drive that I needed to fix. I disassembled the entire thing, looked at all of the hardware. So this is a true classic, the 5150 IBM PC, the very first PC. And again, got it up and running completely. So the fact that it came with 2 monitors led me to create the dual monitor video that I will be showing later on. And the seller was an old IBM service engineer. I was also able to pick up this machine here, and I had to drive all the way to Paris to pick up this one. So I started driving at 4 a.m. It was a 4-hour drive. Arrived in Paris, knocked on the guy's door. He came downstairs in his apartment, gave me the PC, gave him 100 euros, and that was it. I was on my way back home. So I actually never made a video on it, but I did end up fixing the PC because it was a little bit broken, but I got it cleaned up. It was working perfectly. And then I had the opportunity to trade it in for an IBM EGA monitor, the 5154, which is kind of a unicorn in IBM land. So I ended up trading in this PC for the monitor. So still have a lot of video footage on it, but never released a video on it. And this is not the same 5155 as my other 5155 series that I did later on, because that was a different PC. So yeah, a classic portable from IBM, or luggable I should say. very difficult to work with, but yeah, interesting machine nonetheless. There also had some issues with starting the PC, as can be seen here. So yeah, caps exploding, the usual stuff. Another interesting video I thought that I did was about the whole dual monitor setup that you can do with an IBM PC. So when I bought this IBM 5150, it came with two monitors. So I had a CGA monitor, the 5153, and I also had the green phosphor monochrome monitor, the 5151. Now the fact that you could have a dual monitor setup on this old PC was really fascinating to me. I tried to imagine all kinds of use cases where people would benefit from having a two-screen setup like this, besides the obvious playing around with it like I'm doing here. I also thought about, how this would affect a software developer's life if he were to use one screen to, go through his code or do some debugging and then see the output of the program on another monitor. The same with Excel, which lends itself really well for a two-screen setup where you can have your sheet on one end and the graphs on the other. And you can even do still custom development today, because a subscriber sent me this little program that he created which makes use of this dual screen setup, which I thought was really, really cool. Next up was a Commodore PC that I received for repairs. So this was my first introduction to the Commodore PC compatibles. I used to play around with Commodores a lot, with the C64 and the Amiga, but I never had a Commodore PC. Now this wasn't working. There was an issue with the power supply, so I needed to go ahead and take a look at that. I also disassembled it completely. It was really interesting to see how this worked. I actually ended up not fixing the existing power supply, but rather replacing it. I'm not really keen on working with these old power supplies, and also, getting replacement parts for those are not that easy. And also from a safety standpoint, I thought it would be better to just install a new power supply unit so that the computer would last a little bit longer, hopefully. So yeah, also again, an interesting project to do, and I hope I made the guy happy by giving him back a working Commodore PC. And I also really loved this monochrome monitor. I really like this white tint of color on the screen. And next up was my 386 build, something that I wanted to do for a very long time, and I actually finally got all of the parts to do it. So the PC itself came from a huge lot of hardware that I was able to pick up, basically a garage full of old PC stuff. I was able to clean it up and it came out really nicely. I love these 386 based computers. So they were not the most powerful ones, but you could actually play some cool MS-DOS games on it, and I actually spent some time playing around with the PC, which was really nice. And the video also was very well received, and I think it's got like a 30,000 views or something, which is, not bad for my channel. And then we have this guy here, the AMD DX4 100 MHz, and a lot of positive comments on the case. I actually picked up this PC from the seller that sold me the Commodore PC 20 that we'll be discussing later on. It was sitting in her garage, and she just said very casually, "Oh, can you do something with this? I mean, you can have it for free." And I said, "Okay." Yeah, really, really nice machine. Actually ended up trading this with a subscriber for another system. A subscriber who has the coolest collection of computer cases, primarily mini towers and some big towers as well, from a very specific era in computing, with lots of 486 Pentium class machines, but with a very particular look and feel, which is pretty amazing. Now, I was a bit sad to see it go, but I really hope he's enjoying the case right now. To me, these kind of fast 486 machines are also really interesting. You had the whole Visa Local Bus thing going on. You could actually install something like Windows 95 on these machines, providing you had enough memory. And So yeah, you had a whole bunch of games that you could play on this platform. It had the Western Digital Caviar hard drive, which I really like. And next up was this AT&T Globalist, my first early Pentium 66 based machine with some really nice AT&T branding. I ended up buying this really cheap together with another compact Pentium and some other hardware. Really nice desktop PC, Pentium 66, very early model. There were some issues with it. There was no power supply, and I thought I had lost the power button, but I ended up finding it in the case itself, and it ended up being a really beautiful system running Windows 95. Love the AT&T branding on this thing. Love the look and feel of the case. Just an awesome PC. I was planning on doing a multimedia upgrade video on it. I'm still planning to do so, but I just haven't had the time yet. So here I was leading up to the video where I would do the upgrade and install networking and sound and CD-ROM, but yeah, still on my to-do list. Now, at the time, I was very eager to complete my old IBM lineup. I wanted to get all of the XT-based systems. So I was really happy when I found this IBM 5160 PC XT. It wasn't in working condition. There was an issue with the floppy drive, which caused a short and prevented the computer from starting, but I ended up fixing it. I cleaned it. Turned out to be a very nice system. The Seagate hard drive, the 10 megabyte hard drive MFM, which was in there, was still working. So yeah, ended up getting the computer completely up and running. It came with all of the original IBM manuals, but also came with the MS-DOS, IBM DOS, Lotus 123. So yeah, really nice. And the next PC was a 386 one with a very special monitor, which was an Atari monitor. And when I opened up the PC, it also had an EGA video card, an ATI EGA Wonder. So yeah, really fascinating machine. Also had this old Seagate hard drive that unfortunately suffered a major head crash. But still, yeah, really nice PC. There was a lot of battery damage, so I had to do a lot of rework on the motherboard. But yeah, it was very well worth it because I learned a lot in terms of fixing these things, debugging the traces on the main board, and just, yeah, getting her up and running again was a really rewarding experience. And I still have the PC in my collection. I love these 386 based machine. It had this really weird floppy disk drive. It was a 16 megahertz 386. So yeah, with the EGA setup, really nice. And then came my second Commodore PC experience. I actually bought this from a local listing. And as an extra bonus, I got this AMD DX4 100 MHz 486 PC. So again, for me, really cool to see a Commodore PC. This time a bigger one, resembling the XT style cases a bit more. It had an issue with the hard drive, which is a BASF MFM hard drive. I actually have two BASF MFM hard drives, and they both exhibit the same systems, and it's kind of a knocking noise that you hear when you turn them on. So yeah, I still need to see what I can do about that, if it's possible to fix it. I'm not really sure at this moment, but I was just making this horrible knocking noise. Eventually it would boot. It was like it needed like 10 restarts or something, and then it just magically started working. Next PC was another 286. For the longest time I was searching for 286 based machines, and then all of a sudden I got this huge influx of 286 based machines, and this Acer was one of them. It was actually a subscriber that sold it to me. And yeah, just a really nice, modern machine, modern 286 based machine. So it had PS2 ports. It was relatively small form factor, pretty modern mainboard also. Ended up installing a sound card, picked up a nice Sound Blaster card as well. So yeah, really nice system, playing some old 286 games on it. I think it fitted rather well with my IBM VGA monitor that I picked up a couple of weeks earlier. And then I was able to pick up this old IBM portable, the P70. Now these aren't that very common, so I was really happy to be able to pick this up relatively cheap. It was in kind of working condition. It didn't want to start at first, but when I disassembled it and put everything back together, it started working again, so perhaps a bad contact somewhere. But yeah, fascinating PS2 based machine. My first PS2 machine from IBM. I've been meaning to start collecting those, but yeah, the PS2 lineup is very rare and they cost a lot of money online. So yeah, for the time being, this is my only PS2 system that I have from IBM. Had some issues with the disk drive that I need to fix, that used a non-standard pin layout, so needed some rework on that. But yeah, machine is running fine now, and I'm actually planning to add a networking card to it. I have this old 3Com networking card, MCA based, that should work in the system. So yeah, again on my to-do list to finish at some point. But really nice machine, really nice keyboard, and I love the look and feel of these portable PCs. Next up was a video on how to transfer data from these old machines into new machines. So yeah, it was a really nice video to make because I ended up exploring some possibilities, including parallel serial cables, XT IDE, networking on these old computers, and just comparing the different ways of transferring data in and out of these systems. Making your own cables. It was really fun. So yeah. And any excuse to use my old iOmega zip drive is a good excuse as far as I'm concerned, because I love these types of things. I had one when I was young to use with my 486, and I still use it today to use it as kind of an external hard drive for old XT based systems. And next up was this Philips PC, which was a trade that I did with one of my subscribers who saw an old Pentium case in the background of one of my videos, and he wanted to trade it for this 286 Philips PC, which obviously I did, because these old 286, 386, 486 machines have like a special place in my heart. And yeah, ended up fixing it. Not really sure what all was wrong with it. I think I had to replace the Dallas chip, obviously, but yeah, it had a nice Philips branding. It had a Philips branded sound card, as a video card as well. Just a nice little system, 3.5 inch and a 5.25 inch floppy drive. Got the machine up and running. Again, a really nice system to play some old MS-DOS games. Next up, I decided to do something with all of these MFM hard drives that I had and the different types of controller cards that came with them. So I ended up investigating a little bit how the whole low-level formatting thing works and how you do it using different controller cards and different hard drives. I also briefly touched upon the whole MFM versus RLL encoding scheme. I'll probably do another video on that because I was actually missing a good RLL controller card for this video and a working hard drive to go with it. But yeah, I end up learning a lot also about how these controllers work, the BIOS versions on these cards, and the different ways of setting these hard drives up in different computer systems. It was also a good excuse to open one up. Obviously a hard drive that wasn't working all that well to begin with. And I actually had to open this up because sometimes this wouldn't spin up without me manually giving it a little whirl in order to get it up and running. And the final PC I want to show you here is another gorgeous desktop case. Again, a 286 PC that I got from a subscriber 5¼ inch floppy drive, 3.5 inch disk drive, a really beautiful case. The only thing which is missing here is a megahertz LED speed indicator, but other than that, yeah, really nice case, nice to work with. I really like this kind of form factor for these old PCs. It also had this old MFM hard drive in it with a 16-bit Western Digital controller card, which you don't come across all that often anymore. So yeah, nice little system here. Still planning on doing a follow-up video on this one to add some multimedia, but yeah, haven't found the time yet. But so that was it for this little recap here. I hope you've enjoyed this little journey back in time. I hope you go ahead and watch some of those videos if you haven't already done so. Looking forward, there are still a lot of interesting machines that I want to cover on this channel, like this old IBM server, but also lots of desktop PCs that I still want to cover. So I really hope you stick around for that. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye bye.